Hello and welcome back to the Sri Lanka travel vlogs. In today's vlog, I explore Ella as I spend a whole week there because I like it so much. I continue working remotely and I also show you around a bit of the rest of Sri Lanka. I have left the hostel. I stayed in Vibe Hostel and I would honestly highly recommend it. The host Hisham is absolutely incredible. He goes above and beyond, really helps you out. When I checked out today, bless him, as I was paying the bill and stuff and paying for my room, he then handed me a parcel and said, and this is your lunch for the train. And his mother had cooked rice and curry for me and packaged it up so that I could eat it on the train. And that was just so thoughtful and so kind. Honestly, he really did not have to do that. I'm now at the train station waiting for the train to Ella. There are no seats left, even on the day. I wasn't lucky this time. So I've got a third class unreserved ticket for 80 rupees. So I mean, it's a stark difference between the 500 it would have been. I'm interested to see if I will have to stand for the entire journey. It is the slower train, so it's not as popular, and because it's slower, there will be less people on it, I hope, and it is a Monday morning. So let's see, hopefully it's not as busy and I do get a seat. As it was a Monday morning and because it was a slow train, it was far less busy than the first train I took from Kandy to Nuwara Eliya, so luckily I was able to get a seat even in third class reserved. The ticket did cost me 80 Sri Lankan rupees, which is, as I said, a stark difference between the 500 Sri Lankan rupees I paid for second class reserved on my first train. 80 Sri Lankan rupees is about 30p. And 500 is about £1.80. So not a big difference when you convert it to pounds, but a big difference for how far that money can get you in Sri Lanka. I really enjoyed the train journey. Again, they had people selling drinks and snacks whilst you're on the train. So I've got on the train successfully. It was not as hard or difficult as it was when I got on in Kandy. My gosh, that was awful. This is a slower train. It's red, as you can see, red and vintage. I've got bagged myself a door seat. I've met some other travellers whilst being on the train, which has been really lovely. Had some nice conversations, and we're all heading in the same direction. So yeah, it's really nice. Didn't really speak to anyone actually on the train from Kandy. It's nice to socialise a bit more and have conversations with people. We're stopping at a station now that is apparently the highest located railway station in Sri Lanka. The weather on the day I took this train was so much nicer than the first train I took, so it just made the landscape and the views even more beautiful. I think what also made a big difference is that I sat in the doorway for most of the journey. I didn't do this in the first train, A, because it was too busy, and B, because I was really worried about my valuables. But I'd definitely recommend getting a spot by the door if you can. Is it on our train or their train?
I think it's on their
train. I then arrived in Ella, which is by far the most touristic city in all of Sri Lanka that I visited, and I checked into my homestay before my workday started. So there is a plug on the balcony outside and it works, so I'm already in love with this homestay. So I've just got to Ella and I've made it in tuk-tuk to my homestay, guest house that I'm staying in. Love it already. I didn't get a chance on the train to eat the rice and curry for lunch that Hisham's mother very kindly made me, so I'm opening it up now. I'm gonna eat it. I've also been greeted with some biscuits, tea, coffee and bananas here, which is so lovely. My meeting is in about 15 minutes. This looks amazing already. Wow. So kind of her, or of him, to ask his mother to make it. It's so lovely. And this is massive. Oh my god, guys, can confirm this curry is amazing. Tastes so good. In Ella, there are loads of tourist activities to do and there are plenty of hikes, one of which is a hike up Little Adams Peak, which we decided to do on the sunrise of my 25th birthday. The homestay I was staying at very kindly dropped us off in their tuk-tuk in the morning, and the path is very easy and straightforward to follow, and there were lots of other people doing the hike at the same time. So we just followed everyone else and hiked up to the summit just in time for sunrise, and it was honestly the perfect start to my 25th birthday. It was so beautiful watching the sunrise from the top, and I honestly just felt so grateful for life, so grateful for being able to build this life that I've always dreamed of, to be able to work remotely whilst travelling the world, and to be doing it fearlessly and not giving in to societal pressure or comparing myself to my university peers who are doing completely different careers and making completely different choices. We've hiked up Little Adams Peak this morning. Yes. This is Nina.
Hello.
We met in Sigiriya.
Maybe 10.
She's the one who's taken the incredible pictures that I'm sure I will have posted at this point. But no, and this is Bernally.
Hi.
2,485 steps.
Yeah.
To get up, which is isn't that many.
It was 5 a.m.
5 a.m. Was it 5 a.m. in the dark? Very busy again though. Lots and lots of people here. Hey. So the morning just felt really special, and it was even more special being able to share that with two friends that I'd made. I met Nina back in Sigiriya, and we met up again in Ella, and I met Bernally on the train from Nuwara Eliya to Ella.
Yesterday I went down a rabbit hole and I was reading all these stories of selfie related deaths. I don't know why.
Wouldn't it be just so much easier if somebody travels with you and like takes all your videos?
After taking in the views and taking a few pictures, we hiked back down and headed back to our homestay, where we were greeted by the most amazing breakfast spread. They got me a cake. Very sweet of them, they did not have to. No, stop, my homestay family are so cute. They just gave me a card as well. That is honestly the sweetest thing. One of the other mornings I really wanted to climb up Ella Rock, but none of my other friends did, so I decided to do it by myself. I used a lot of blog posts and resources online to see the route and to see how it can be done. A, it seemed as though it was a much longer and more difficult route than climbing up Little Adams Peak. B, it seemed unclear of where the starting point was. And C, I definitely didn't want to do this kind of climb alone as a solo female traveller. I asked my homestay if they could arrange this for me by finding a tour guide or someone who was willing to take me up, and the son offered to do it himself. So of course I offered to pay him. The next day he met me, we woke up bright and early, and he led the way and took me there. The climb was more difficult than climbing up Little Adams Peak. I would recommend as well bringing a powerful torch because phone lights are not strong enough, but eventually we did make it to the top. Unfortunately that day there were some grey clouds covering the sun, so the sunrise wasn't as beautiful as I know it can be, but nonetheless I still really enjoyed doing the hike, and I'm really glad I did it. After that I headed back down with my homestay guide and then just started the working day. In the evening, I saw the women in the homestay stirring this huge pot of something, and I wanted to know what it was. They said that they were making a traditional Sri Lankan sweet, which takes hours to make. I actually ended up staying in Ella for a week because I did really enjoy it and I loved the homestay. I finally made it down to Nine Arches Bridge one of the days, and I did actually manage to see one of the trains come, but I didn't manage to catch it on film. As you can see, it is a very busy, packed place, so if you do want to come when there aren't any people around, then I'd recommend coming really early in the morning. I then followed a sign to a little cafe just above Nine Arches Bridge, and it gave a really beautiful view, and I just sat, drank my tea and people watched. There are loads of other activities to do in Ella and lots of day trips to lots of waterfalls. I unfortunately didn't have time to do this because I was working full time, but there is a wealth of information online about how to go and do all of these things. This is the end of the Sri Lanka travel vlogs. I hope that you've enjoyed them. I did actually end up heading south, and I went to various places along the coast all the way up back to Colombo to fly home, but I didn't vlog any of it because I did get quite sick. I'm not sure whether it was COVID-19, but I do have a feeling it was, and there was no way for me to check because I tried to get hold of tests and there just weren't any available in Sri Lanka at the time, though I did self-isolate and stay away from other people. I did really enjoy the south of Sri Lanka, and I do wish I had vlogged a bit more, but as I said, I was feeling really unwell, and also at this point is when Sri Lanka's economic crisis was worsening. They were having daily 10-hour power cuts, the heat was relentless, I still had to work full time, there was no light or electricity, prices were increasing for food, for tuk-tuks, for transport, everything. It was just getting worse, so I didn't end up vlogging any of that experience, but I really did enjoy travelling around Sri Lanka, and I hope that you have enjoyed these vlogs.
if you loved me